Today, we're reacting to a movie directed by Paul Feig and starring Christian Wiig and Melissa McCarthy, while also talking about the importance of the Javina Convention. And that's great, because I love Bridesmaids. And remember, this is a place of love, peace and kindness, so that means only nice comments and like reacts. Now, let's all hold hands, sing Kumbaya, and watch some good old Bridesmaids. Oh no. Not that one. Not that one! Thanks everyone for coming. We need to re-energize our existing franchises. Blockbusters! I think we need to bring it back. You mean Ghostbusters, Amy? Yes, that one. The two previous movies raked in a ton of money. It's high time we think about a third. Well, actually, there have been several obstacles with Ghostbusters 3. The cast isn't exactly getting any younger, and we've lost one of them. Enough with all your negativity, Doug. Can't we just resurrect him? Maybe make him a vampire? Or a ghost, perhaps? But I do have concerns. The audience might see it as disrespectful. We can't afford to lose any money over that. There has to be a solution. Well, we could reboot the franchise with a younger cast. It might appeal to a newer demographic, but it's risky. Fans of the original might resist the changes. I love that idea. A reboot! And to appeal to our progressive audience, let's empower our women. They bring so much talent to the table, it's about time we highlight that. Paul Feig, you've shown a knack for this, so how about you direct and write it? Well, actually, I did have an idea in that vein. What if we go with an all-female-led cast? Brilliant! I'm all about gender equality, and it's financially efficient too. Why not? It's just good business, after all. This will be popular with the younger crowd, right? Absolutely. I'd say 399% of the population will align with our views. 399%? That's a huge margin. Are these stats verified? To the best of my knowledge, yes. Of course, there will be a small group of critics, but their number is insignificant. I'm on board if you can deliver, Paul. The project's yours. Doug? Do you agree? Yes, Paul's films have done well, especially those with female leads. However, getting the old cast on board could be an issue, particularly Bill Murray. We'll need their support to appeal to the original audience. That's annoying, but we're professionals. We'll find a way to get them on board. Maybe we'll even have to get a little creative with their contracts. You know, all strictly within the legal bounds, of course. But this is our golden goose. We can't let it slip away. Paul, here's $144 million. Make us a blockbuster. Thank you, Amy. And not just a director, but as a writer too. Finally, I have a platform to share the gospel of harmony and progress. This film, it'll be the one that defines me, the one that brings enlightenment to the unenlightened. This movie, it'll be a game changer. For Ghostbusters! Ghostbusters was a 1984 American supernatural comedy film directed and produced by Ivan Reitman, and written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, who starred in the film alongside Bill Murray and Ernie Hudson. These films blended supernatural horror with comedy in a unique way that captivated audiences, quickly becoming a beloved cultural phenomenon. The Ghostbusters franchise not only gave us two successful films, but also inspired a hit theme song, Who You Gonna Call? Cartoons, merchandise, and a lasting pop culture legacy which remains unique to this day. The idea of a third Ghostbusters film was tossed around for years, but faced numerous obstacles. The original cast members were aging, and with the untimely death of Harold Ramis, one of the core irreplaceable Ghostbusters, the dream of a third film seemed dead in the water. And Bill Murray, selected with his roles, was particularly apprehensive about reprising his role as Peter Venkman without the assurance of a quality script. These complications gradually made the prospect of a third film seem increasingly difficult, if not impossible. Sony Pictures, under the leadership of then co-chairman Amy Pascal, however, decided this golden goose was too profitable to let die, and moved to reboot the franchise instead. Pascal, a strong advocate for better female representation in Hollywood, has an interesting outlook on how she does business and sees the world.
North Koreans have hacked Sony.
People were really scared. All of their social security was out there, passports nagging in the back of my mind. They don't have our emails, right? Tell me they don't have our emails. As a woman, I figured that what I did was control how everybody felt about themselves and about me. That's how I did my job. There was nothing that I could do about whether I'd hurt people, betrayed people. I couldn't protect anyone, not their feelings, not what they thought of me. Maybe controlling the way everybody feels about themselves and the way they feel about me isn't what I was doing. Maybe I thought that's what I was doing, but it wasn't. Everybody understood because we all live in this weird thing together called Hollywood. If we all actually were nice, it wouldn't work.
I mean, you're the head of the studio. These actresses are getting paid less.
I run a business. People want to work for less money. I'll pay them less money. I don't call them up and go, can I give you some more? What women have to do is not work for less money. Walk away. The most important thing that we can do is make movies with female protagonists, villains, and the plot about them.
Naturally, she saw this reboot as an opportunity to breathe new life into a beloved franchise and shake up the status quo. Paul Feig, a director known for financially successful female-centric comedies like Bridesmaids and The Heat, was tasked with writing and directing the reboot, despite the fact that although he had a lot of experience directing, he had very little experience in writing movies. But the charts said he made profitable movies, and that's what's important in Hollywood, regardless of the why. With the backing of Sony, Feig, in my opinion, made the choice to cast an all-female lead ensemble and introduce a different, arguably political dimension to the Ghostbusters franchise that was not present in the original films. This decision was seen as bold and groundbreaking by some, but also stirred controversy among the fans of the original films. And by controversy, I mean the trailer for Ghostbusters 2016 was one of the most disliked movie trailers in YouTube history, getting over 1 million dislikes. Many fans expressed displeasure at the concept of a reboot, especially one that seemed to deviate so dramatically from the original. And unlike with the backlash to the also hated Sonic trailer, the makers of Ghostbusters 2016 did not listen to their fanbase. Instead, they decided to at best ignore their criticism, and at worst insult and outright demonize said community as haters, trolls and misogynists, which merely only added fuel to the fire and resulted in an outright boycott of the film by many.
Gee, they look pretty mad.
Yeah, I've been starving them, teasing them, singing off key. Me mamo, me moo mommy.
Therefore, likely the only people who paid money to see it were those who were behind the idea of Ghostbusters being turned into an identity politics platform. This is not to say that everyone who disliked the film was against its political stance, but it's clear that many fans felt alienated by the perceived shift in the franchise's direction. The film was released in July 2016, with mixed reviews from critics. While some praised the performances of the lead actresses, the film's humour and narrative structure were widely criticised. Despite a budget of over $140 million, the film failed to recoup its investment, resulting in a massive loss of about $70 million all in. According to leaked Sony emails, allegedly there were discussions about potential legal action if Bill Murray did not agree to participate. Whether this was a serious consideration or just a brainstorming idea is unknown. It's worth noting that these are only allegations and they should be taken with a grain of caution. If true, however, the only legal leverage they could have had on Murray would have been a clause in his contract from Ghostbusters 1 or 2, requiring his involvement and or approval for a future Ghostbusters movie. And if he had that in his contract, then the entire main cast of the originals would have too. There are actually very few interviews from the original cast members praising this film, and the few that do exist seem very off. Their words say one thing, yet their body language says another. You know those interviews of POWs who say how well they're being treated as they're blinking in Morse code asking for help?
It's going really well. The girls they're just badass Ghostbusters, and they're funny, sort of taken the story and made it their own. I am so happy. I think it's going to be a big hit. Oh, they're all on their own. I offered up some thoughts and that, and You know, they looked at them, and I don't know whether they took them to heart or not. They made it their own, and that's what I was really pleased to see, was it is their own. Oh, very small part, tiny, tiny, supportive, just very, very, very supportive, tiny, tiny part. They don't need anybody from the first film. They are solidly on independent footing, power a whole new generation of females, hopefully to go into scientific research. And I'd love to have played a ghost. Maybe the ghost of the character that I played in the first movie, the ghost of Ray Stantz, who's died and then comes back.
Yeah, that's what these interviews remind me of. But maybe it's not as bad as it seems. I mean, in my opinion, co-opting and bastardizing a beloved fandom and legacy just so you can insert your own politics into it, then insulting and demonize the fan base around it that you're trying to appeal to, and possibly threatening to strong-arm those people that built that legacy into supporting you? How bad can it possibly be? Okay, now full disclosure, before this DVD arrived, I actually watched about half of this movie online just to help my understanding and help the research for this review. When I watched it on this, however, I realised that this is the theatrical release that's about 18 minutes shorter, and the one that I watched online was the home release extended version. And that gives me a unique perspective for this review, because I can see from both sides of it just how bad the pacing is for this movie. So, with that in mind, let's begin the grind. So, the movie starts off with advertising Sony's brand new company called Ghost Corps, that they created to oversee and create a Ghostbusters cinematic universe and expand the Ghostbusters brand into films, television series, and merchandise. Wow, they were that confident they had a winner on their hands. Yeah. The film opens with a tour guide sharing supposedly terrifying tales in a haunted house, attempting to spook his guest with half-hearted gimmicks. Yet after they all leave, a real ghost comes to haunt and attack him, with lots of mindless, fast-paced and high-budget action. Well, the first few minutes really are setting the tone for this movie. The original actually understood their audience, that it wasn't about half-hearted tales, high-budget mindless action or slapstick comedy. It was a film that was somewhere in between a psychological horror and a witty situational comedy. It's not like it'd make you scream with fear or anything, but it'd keep you slightly on the edge of your seat, putting you in the exact emotional frame of mind for a story of this nature. I mean, this is a story about supernatural ghosts. Cheap jump scares aside, was anyone even slightly scared by the opening of this film? I look at this opening like someone trying to entertain little kids with funny faces and voices and stuff. It's just empty and meaningless. And then we get the title sequence, featuring the very same score from the original movie. Wait, I thought this was supposed to be a reboot. It's bad enough that they've co-opted the original title while discarding the continuity and essence of the original films. Yet they're actually prepared to recycle its popular score instead of creating their own with their $144 million budget? Either fully honour the source material, or make a complete departure from it. This pick-and-choose method does a disservice to both the film and its loyal fanbase. Then we get the opening of one of our main characters called Dr. Erin Gilbert, played by Kristen Wiig. Hey, Kristen Wiig! She's a very talented writer and comedian. Maybe this film won't be so bad after all. She appears to be a professor giving a talk to an empty room. Damn, that's what the film's premiere must have looked like. A colleague finds out she co-authored a book about ghosts when she was younger, that she's trying to distance herself from wanting to be taken seriously. Her colleague, however, is a historian at the haunted house from earlier, and he does believe it to be haunted and wants her to check it out. Yet she refuses because what she used to believe is utter nonsense.
I'm sorry. That book you're holding is utter nonsense.
Okay, so to review. The character in which the audience are watching this from their perspective, she doesn't believe in ghosts anymore. Part of the appeal of the original Ghostbusters is these were a bunch of crazy people that no one took seriously, trying to ice skate uphill, and yet against all odds and opposition, they turned out right and people depended on them. It represented the power of believing in yourself when no one else will, and proving them wrong. That is something encouraging lots of people can relate to and makes them care. Now, in a film, self-doubt can be a useful obstacle as part of the hero's journey, yet it needs to be relevant to the plot and people's lived experiences. What's the relevance here that the audience can relate to? What? Giving up all of your self-respect and most cherished beliefs out of fear of criticism and how it will negatively affect your career? I mean, in theory, that could be an interesting idea, yet that would require a lot of very skillful writing to pull off effectively, showing this inner conflict within this character of fighting safe success versus her true nature. However, there is no conflict within her. She just doesn't care, this being a chapter of her life she closed a long time ago. If she doesn't care, then why the hell should the audience care? Actually, that's not true. She does care. She cares that this book has been published in her name by her ex-friend, and she wants it unpublished immediately. Again, this movie is really starting to set the tone, as this might be similar to how Feig may have felt, wanting to distance herself from this movie after its release for fear of it risking her career. I mean, let's face it, it's not like she's going to be putting this film on her resume in future. She goes off to confront her past friend, and this is where we meet Dr. Abigail Yates, played by Melissa McCarthy. Brown-Nose here confronts childish Doc Brown that she published her book without her permission, and she responds in a very adult and mature way for committing this violation of civil laws that Brown-Nose here could actually sue her for.
You put our book online without my permission.
I don't need your permission.
Of course you need my permission. My name is on it.
No, absolutely not. That book is a whole new revenue stream for me.
Look, I am up for tenure right now.
Ooh, I'm up for tenure.
Wow. Now that's what I call a strong and independent woman. Paul Feig, you did good.
And it makes me look like a crazy person.
God, are you kidding me? I got one wonton. I got a tub of soup, one split wonton. There's not even any meat in there. That's just a carrot.
My god, she's only been on screen for a minute and a half, and she's already insufferable. Peter Venkman was a bit creepy, self-serving, and did bend or break the rules from time to time. But there was always a context to his actions. His intentions when it mattered were ultimately good and even heroic, which made audiences root for him despite his rogue nature. With Yates, it's a different story. She comes across as consistently self-centered and oblivious, violating trust and law without a second thought, and then responding as though she's the victim when she's caught. It's not the breaking of the rules that's the issue here, but the lack of any redeeming context or likeable character traits such as remorse or personal responsibility to balance it out. This isn't someone who's a little weird and annoying. She is literally breaking the law for no good reason, and responds like she's the one being victimized for getting caught. You know those idiots you see on police shows that do 90 in a 30 zone? And when they get pulled over, they're like, well, what did I do wrong? Why are you victimizing me? Yeah, that's what she reminds me of. And spineless Brown-Nose, rather than tell her, if you don't take this down, I am going to sue you, she just decides to stay and meet a new friend of hers, because the plot demands it, being Dr. Gillian Holtzman, played by Kate McKinnon. Hey, another very talented comedian. Well, I sure hope her talents aren't wasted either with really crappy writing. Turns out she's an engineer, and immature Doc Brown likes her because she knows her place.
I've heard terrible things about you.
Get too close to her, Holtzman. She'll ask you to write a book and then she'll squash your dreams. She's a brilliant engineer and very loyal. She would not abandon you.
Wow, Yates is pretty nasty. I mean, okay, these two parted ways, not seeing eye to eye at some point. Yet that's life. Friends come and go. Why is she so needlessly aggressive and cruel?
Everybody understood because we all live in this weird thing together called Hollywood.
And
If
how-
we
and how-
all actually were nice, it wouldn't work.
They tell her they've made progress on this ghost technology research, and only then she starts to take an interest again, doing a complete 180 in a totally unnatural way. A fart joke?
Is it more or less disgusting if I tell you it came from the front?
Oh, a lady fart joke. Even better. Well, I'm thoroughly entertained.
Come on, come out of your mom's basement. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, I agree.
And maybe go see the movie before you critique it.
Not only Spineless here doesn't get angry at being messed about, but she still remains civil to two people who clearly would make terrible friends. She tells them about the haunted house, and they go off to the house and continue to ignore her about the book. And instead of getting angry and talking of her legal rights like a normal person, she just decides to go with them. Then finally, Todd here agrees to consider maybe taking the book down temporarily until she gets her tenure, on the condition she introduces them to the historian. And instead of her replying, "No, you take it down or I'll sue you," she just agrees to this horrible person's unreasonable terms. With some more low-hanging fruit jokes, they investigate the house and they find the ghost in the basement that somehow has less realistic special effects than the original made 42 years earlier.
Free comedy tip, Slick. The pie gag's only funny when the saps got dignity.
After she gets her money shot, she then starts hysterically believing in ghosts again and hugs her old terrible friend. Wow, that's even less realistic than their crappy CGI. The video is uploaded, which gets back to her boss and gets her promptly fired. Now in the extended cut, she actually shows a bit of human anger towards said terrible friends for getting her fired. Well, for about 20 seconds anyway. Yet in this version, we don't even have that. In either case, both cuts show a very underwhelming response for this character. I'm glad it wasn't anything serious, like her entire career she's sacrificed for going down the toilet or anything. But her best friends give her an empty apology before talking about ghosts again, and all is forgiven.
We saw a real ghost.
Till she ecto-projected all over you. Yeah, that stuff went everywhere, by the way, in every crack.
In every crack? Every crack? That wasn't really in every crack, was it? Also, let's get back to this joke, and back to my original observation of this film being like someone trying to entertain little kids with funny faces and voices and stuff. I really would have loved to have been a fly on the wall when Feig was writing and directing this scene. Kirsten, I'm envisioning this part where Dr. Gilbert gets slimed by the ghost, and we don't hold back, it's buckets of the stuff. Then she goes into this vivid graphic description of the experience. I think that could bring some solid laughs. Well, I hear you, Paul, but I'm wondering, wouldn't it hit even harder comedically if Gilbert was sort of emotionally taken aback? Or even if she has to face her boss, still drenched in that goop? It seems like that might elevate the... Absolutely, Kirsten, that's a brilliant take. Let's explore it in that scene. But there's something else I want us to bear in mind. I think it's crucial that we're respectful in our depiction of these women. We want to show them as strong, capable, not objects of ridicule or degradation. Hey Dave! Is the slime mix ready? Fantastic. Let's get this rolling. Action! In fact, I'm not even going to tell you what's wrong with this scene. I'll show you. This is peanut butter. Things I do. Am I funny now? Alright, take two. Okay everyone. This is peanut butter. I'm actually extremely allergic to peanuts. I'm told that it's important to to educate people on the internet of like how peanut allergies are serious, so I'll be having some of this just for your benefit. Okay. Okay, I mean, it doesn't look too bad. It's, you know, it's... Seriously, this stuff could... it might kill me, maybe. I don't know. Give it a try. It's good. Oh god, I can't take it anymore. I need my shot. Okay, I know I'm not that funny. But the point is, the whole purpose of this kind of humour is self-deprecation. Honestly, in general, women would actually be funnier with this kind of humour because of people just like Feig defending their honour. They tend to have kind of a lot of dignity, hence they have a lot of dignity to lose. That is the part that is funny. Again, this is what the original Ghostbusters had that this film simply doesn't. You can put all of the fart and lady fart jokes in there all you like, but if the characters themselves don't actually care, then the comedic value is worthless. That's one of the reasons why Bridesmaids was so damn funny in a lot of it, because that actually did mock women at their expense in a way that just isn't normally done.
Beautiful. Oh, you look amazing.
Megan, are you okay?
Oh, my dress was probably just tight.
You got food poisoning from that restaurant. No, I had the same thing that she had. Oh my, okay. Oh my God.
I don't really care which dress we get. I just need to get off this white carpet.
Everybody, go outside. I'm serious. There's a bathroom across the street.
He needs a toilet! He needs a toilet! He needs a toilet! No! No! Look away! No! Look away! Oh!
I'm so sorry.
Get away from me! What did we eat? It's coming out of me like lava! Look at me! Oh!
Annie, everybody's really sick from that restaurant.
Oh no! It's happening! It's happening! It happened.
Oh no! Don't you dare ruin that dress!
Well, you're really doing it, aren't you? You're just in the street.
After some technobabble to explain their experience, they decide this needs to be exposed to the world, right after they read some YouTube comments.
Ain't no gonna hunt no ghosts.
You guys are reading the YouTube comments. Ain't no bees gonna hunt no ghosts. Saying that joke in the movie, obviously you're winking at all the controversy. What did that mean to have that line in the film?
It seemed really funny at the time. Come out of your mom's basement. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, I agree.
And maybe go see the movie before you critique it.
The audience.
It was a bit of a wink, yeah. That was one of the jokes we kind of played around with a lot of different wordings on the set, but that was the one that just seemed like, okay, that kind of crystallizes everything.
Wow, so they didn't just mock their critics in public, they actually mocked them in the movie too? That $70 million loss is a mystery, truly a mystery. Because the plot demands it, how nasty bitch and her bottom bitch treated Erin is never talked of again. It's just swept under the rug. They get kicked out of their uni when they ask for more money, and then they steal thousands of dollars of the university's science equipment on their way out. Hashtag grand larceny for equality! And I guess the dean must be super stupid, because we don't hear anything about it again. He has all of their names and presumably security footage of them committing said quite serious crime, and yet I'm guessing the police were never called because ain't no bitch going to jail in this film. Then we find our fourth member of the group, being some friendly metro worker called Patty Tolan, played by Leslie Jones.
They'll always ignore you. They are walking sewage, concerned only with their own trivial matters. When the fourth cataclysm begins, laborers, such as yourself, will be among the last led to the butchery. So, make the most of your extra time.
Okay, that was kinda weird. Anywho, she follows this crazy guy on the tracks who's doing something, and then she encounters a ghost. Seriously, why are the special effects so much worse than a movie 40 years old with like a fifth of the budget? Did they just pocket the money and hire a bunch of interns for the effects or something? Then we go to some hotel and find the crazy guy. Being crazy.
Well done, Rowan. But still so many more checks to go. You have been bullied your entire life.
Oh dear God. Movie, are you doing what I think you're doing?
Now you will be the bully. Trust in your abilities, and the universe shall bend for your will.
Yep, it looks like it. So this is our villain, a character called Dr. Rowan North, played by Neil Casey. And as far as I can figure, this is the physical manifestation of what Paul Feig imagines his critics as being. A genuinely insane misanthrope that has no legitimacy and merely just wants to hurt and bully others since they've been hurt and bullied themselves. Well, this sure as hell is a realistic and fair depiction of this character. And I'm sure that realism will make him a scarier and more believable villain, as opposed to badly written cartoonish propaganda. The ghost bitches then go shopping for a place, and find the old fire station from the original movie with a pink door. Yeah, that's too expensive, so instead they choose a place above a Chinese restaurant that's also pink. Wow, it sure is coincidental that all the places they're going are pink. And it's also a little confusing, since I thought all of that oppressive stereotyping was bad for female representation in Hollywood. Just be clear and consistent in your expectations. That's all I'm saying. Speaking of which, here's the Equality Busters' new secretary, being Chris Hemsworth, after Mjolnir fell on his head. So, long story short, he's a complete imbecile, and yet very good eye candy for the girls.
Are you seeing anyone right now? Just for business purposes?
Business purposes only.
Oops, I did the actor thing.
Can I ask why no glass?
Oh, yeah, they just kept getting dirty. I took them out. Don't have to clean them anymore. You know,
Oh,
I can just...
boy. Pull it out. Oh.
Okay, so, what do you think of that?
Oh.
Is it the boobs you don't like? Because I can make them bigger.
No, I can see them. Don't listen.
I won't.
He covered his eyes.
You know, an aquarium is a submarine for fish.
Excellent.
God, that's loud, huh?
It's loud.
loud. It's loud.
You can't help but be insulted at those behind this film clearly trying to do a role reversal, mocking the stupid and sexy secretary stereotype, when they clearly didn't even watch the original film since none of that was there. Anna Potts, played by Janine Melnitz, was one of the most level-headed, no-nonsense characters in the entire team, and I'm pretty sure wasn't hired just to be eye candy either. How can anyone not find this insulting, no matter what side of the grass you're on? I do genuinely have to wonder, why the hell did Chris Hemsworth accept this role? Is that where the $144 million went? Hemsworth is a talented actor, so him accepting this role as Kevin is quite frankly baffling. He paints men doing secretarial work look like fools, and makes competent characters like Anna Potts all that much more invisible. God, this movie is hurting my brain. Are we even making a dent? 30 minutes? We're only 30 minutes into this film? I'm not sure I'm gonna make it through this! What's her name comes to tell them about the ghost she saw in the Metro. Some guy spray paints on a wall to describe the ghost he saw, even though Metro Woman tells him not to. And that's how they get their logo. To be honest, I think I prefer the logo with boots. They inspect the track, and using more technobabble, they realise someone must be behind this. Finding the ghost again, they use their proton whatever on it, and using the power of special effects that go over the top bar so the 3D looks better while looking on every other format, the ghost gets away, and the movie gets its second money shot. Did the special effect guy just ask Feig like how much slime he wanted, and Feig just responded, yes. Then they go back, and oh look! They're looking at YouTube comments again.
And you shouldn't be reading this stuff. You're not supposed to listen to what crazy people write in the middle of the night online.
Feig, you've got just a little bit of an ego problem, don't you? They look at the bits and pieces they found from the subway, and without any effort they just figure out it must be the crazy guy. Slow and stupid Thor doesn't know how to answer a phone, and Metro Lady decides to join the club, for some reason. And she brings along one of her uncle's hearses, with a pink roof. Seriously, movie, now you're just taking the urine. Who the hell is carrying their dead loved ones in that thing? Barbie? Then we get an explanation of their equipment, and one thing you'll notice is the movie really loves its technobabble bullshit.
Booster using microfabricated radio frequency quadrupoles.
Inverse reactive current for use in unilateral phase detractors.
Speed up particles before entering the DLA device.
Rockwell Automation's retroencabulator.
We had the reversible psychokinetic energy sink.
Magneto-reluctance and capacitive duractance.
And voila, we got a ghost in there.
Now, compare this to the original.
We really haven't had a completely successful test of this equipment.
I blame myself.
So do I. Well, no sense worrying about it now.
Why worry? Each of us is wearing an unlicensed nuclear accelerator on his back.
Yep. Switch me on.
Unlicensed nuclear accelerator. It's a lot harder when it, spends more time showing than telling, doesn't it? Then they give it a test. Wait, is the proton thing pink too? But anyway, that's not important. What is important is Yates here should be going to hospital for all of the broken bones she should have got there. And the fact she's just about to burn her legs off.
She's not bending her knees enough, right?
Marvelous impression of a deflating balloon.
And what do you know? None of them care. Again, movie, if your characters don't care, then why the hell will the audience care? Then they settle down for some pink Papa John's pizza and start telling stories.
When I was 8 years old, the mean old lady that lived next door died. That night, I woke up and she was standing at the foot of my bed, just staring at me.
Wait, a serious talk? Are we honestly supposed to take this seriously? That you're having a serious talk? Right after one of you nearly died and it was taken less seriously than Tom and Jerry?
She did that every night for almost a year.
Next! And oh good, here's the straw neckbeard to begin his next attack.
This world cannot be cleansed fast enough.
Rock and roll. A local team of paranormal...
Oh, okay. Guess that's enough of him then. Now it's time to listen to one of their critics.
Dr. Heiss, you're a highly regarded scientific authority. Your credentials are impeccable.
Thank you, Pat. A game changer, yes.
Oh my god, was this the only way they could get Bill Murray, get him without a fight? By just giving them the part of the critic that basically says they're all full of shit?
Is this for real?
Hell no.
Oh, Bill. Even in your bad films, you still somehow find a way to put a smile on people's face. Wait, what is he wearing? Wait, is that a fedora? Oh my god, Bill, please tell me that was intentional.
It was my mother's. Yeah, that is an awesome hat.
They get a call over basement dwellers' ghost attack. They get their overalls and pimped out ride, and head down there with a much crappier remix of the Ghostbusters theme song.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Oh, did you want to?
Sorry, I'll let you.
Next time.
Well, thank God they didn't steal the iconic siren from the original too.
Something strange in the neighborhood.
Who are you gonna call? Someone else.
The bad cosplayers go inside to find the ghost, and while messing about, they find Weirdo's weird sparkling thing. They destroy the mannequin, release the ghost that looks like it's from Scooby-Doo, and follow it up to the band playing. The guy in the band is an idiot, and the guy in charge literally screams like a little girl when they start destroying stuff. Now, I don't know if you've noticed the consistent pattern throughout this film, but all of the men in this movie are either incompetent idiots or villains. That's it. Bad or stupid. Those are the only two depictions of men in this movie. I sure am glad they didn't need to tear men down to raise women up in this movie. I think it's safe to say the movie doesn't quite like men.
I don't know if it was a race thing or a lady thing, but I'm mad as hell.
What, you don't know? The crowd just lifted Lady Bubbly there, so I guess it's a race thing. What we need to do is reboot Ghostbusters 2016, having all black women instead. Actually, that's not progressive enough. We need to reboot it with trans black women in wheelchairs who are also cats. On a more serious note, if we're going to start talking about racism in this film, didn't the original have a more respectful and fair depiction of black people? Winston wasn't just depicted as Zack from the Power Rangers. He was a decent, hard-working man in society who was fairly level-headed and had personal responsibility. His character was not framed by his race, he was simply depicted as a human being, complex and nuanced like the rest of us. Patsy in this film, however, appears to be more of a caricature than a character. Her portrayal leans heavily on outdated racial stereotypes, reducing her role to a noisy, comedic relief that lacks depth or complexity. For a film screaming about progressiveness, they sure are taking a step back on this one. You don't cure racism by creating it. So they catch the ghost, destroy a guitar for no reason, and then give us some more technobabble.
By adding a plasma shield to the RF discharge chamber.
A base plate of prefamulated amulite.
I have cryo cooler to reduce helium boil up.
Surmounted by a malleable logarithmic case.
We got a freaking Faraday cage to attenuate RF noise and avoid quenching.
In such a way that the two spurving bearings run a direct line with a panometric fan.
Nice.
Oh, and the Tolerance Busters get a visit from Bill Murray. Bubbles makes it clear he and his criticism isn't welcome, and when Blossom here now decides to break ranks and show him the proof, the movie promptly shows him the window. Well, that was fun, and rather than them being arrested for committing involuntary manslaughter, a more stupid version of Mayor Kenny from the Powerpuff Girls instead wants to talk with them. He and his secretary, Miss Bellum, tell them that they believe them, but want them to shut up, get back in the kitchen, and let the men in black deal with it, or some shit. Because it's all a secret. You remember when the Ghostbusters were the only people that believed in ghosts, and hence were the only people qualified to deal with them, giving a massive I told you so every time they did? Yeah, good times, good times. After being asked to stop what they're doing, they pull some new ghost weapons out of their bum, being grenades and guns and stuff. Seriously, we're no longer capturing and trapping ghosts. Now we're straight up killing the incorporeal undead. And I guess this is appropriate since the original Ghostbusters were more about saving lives, driving around in an old ambulance and working out of an old fire station, whereas the new ones are more about ending lives, driving around in a hearse and working out of a Chinese restaurant. Oh, and what's-her-name destroys the delivery driver's bike.
That was awesome!
Ladies, I'd call this a successful test.
I think I've lost count of the amount of crimes that these lot have committed, and not even been reported, let alone charged for. Anyway, enough about that. They remember they have a mystery to solve, and somehow they just figure it out and find Mojo Jojo at the hotel.
It's always the sad pale ones.
They get to the hotel, and we get another less than enthusiastic cameo.
Why don't you hold while I connect you to someone who might care?
Hi, excuse.
What do you want? Oh, that nut job. Just take the stairs down and get him out.
Well, that was fun. They find the sad pale one and all of his ghost toys, and him who for some reason didn't hear them as they kicked the door in.
I am a genius. I see things that no one else does, and for it, I am rewarded with nothing but scorn and mockery. Souls who see the world as it truly is, as garbage. Garbage that needs to be cleaned up.
Is it odd that the more this guy talks, the more he sounds like a cartoonishly evil and misanthropic version of me? They tell him he's going to jail, and then he kills himself? Okay then, that was a little... Actually, I can't even call it anticlimactic, since the movie has been consistently this bad so far. They find a copy of the illegally published book, and see how he based all of his tech off it. Reading through his copy of their book, they find all of his notes in it. God, I can't stand people who write notes in published books, especially when they resell them as like new. You know what? F this guy. It turns out killing himself was part of his plan, and he's going to create some kind of ghost apocalypse, with himself leading it all. Ghost Neckbeard then possesses the suit lady, tries to destroy their equipment, and throws Ellen out of the window. Wait. When did they have the time to replace the window? Loud and Annoying pulls Ellen back in, and literally slaps him out of her.
Get out of my friend, Ghost! The power of panic compels you! Ow!
If people aren't laughing, just scream your lines louder!
So if we play loud, people might think we're good.
Now, instead of trying to possess and attack them again, since that seemed pretty effective, he instead takes Kevin and takes off. And Christian Wiig, for once actually being allowed to do what she does best, tries to get Mayor Airhead to listen and evacuate the city, sounding like a total crazy person.
You have to evacuate the city. You have to shut down the power to the whole city. Don't you understand? He's using the power to energize them.
Naturally, she's not listened to and removed.
Get off of me! You're friendly. You have to listen to me. Get out of the city! Get out of the city! They're coming!
Movie, this right here. This is the closest that you've got to the essence of the original Ghostbusters. You managed to actually make me laugh with you once. For 1 minute, you actually entertained me. Now all you need to do is, rewrite and reshoot the other 1 hour and 50 minutes of this movie. So anyway, the Phantom of the Soap Opera begins phase 4 of his plan. Crappy CGI ghosts make New York worse than it already is, and we get our third impassionate cameo.
Look, I don't go to Chinatown, I don't drive Wacos, and I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
I think there's a bit of a pattern there. I sure hope they were at least paid well for playing ball. Well, at least they didn't steal any more dignity from the original. Oh. Hi, Slimer. I don't know how, but somehow they managed to make you look even worse. And not in a good way. Oh, that's it, bad cosplay, Slimer. You steal and destroy bad cosplay Ghostbuster-mobile. Someone's got to be the hero in this film. The army come in to deal with all of these ghosts, and I guess the Ghostbusters start killing ghosts. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? It's almost like you can hear the movie saying, hey, you remember all that stuff you liked from the original? Well, it's all here too, just like you remember it. Please don't boycott us.
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
Hey, I guess they're dead then. Well, that's the end of the review. If you like this video, make sure you like, leave a comment, share, and... Oh. Christian Wiig, no longer being allowed to do what she does best, saves the day by killing the ghost. With just a regular pocket knife? If it's that easy, then what's wrong with just regular guns and bullets and stuff? It's not like New Yorkers are lacking firearms and pocket knives, so I don't know what use you lot are anymore. Speaking of which, Neckbeard Thor uses ghost magic, or some to control the army and get them in a dance pose. for some reason. Anyway, we get some super interesting action, watching then killing the incorporeal undead, and that goes on for an unfortunate while. What happens to a ghost after you kill them anyway? I mean, the movie never gives any idea, it's just mindless, very convenient writing that doesn't make any sense. The characters clearly don't care about anything in this movie, and the movie itself clearly doesn't care about logical consistency. So really, what possible reason should the audience care about all of this mindless action? They may as well have saved some money in the CGI and just actually gone with funny faces and voices for 2 hours instead. And oh look, bad cosplay Slimer has a girlfriend. Because why the f*** not? They face propaganda bad guy, and he for some reason gives them Kevin back, and doesn't try to possess any of them again when it seemed like a very effective tactic. Instead, he decides to turn into a big ghost monster thing, Power Rangers style.
Okay, this is not good.
Just use the magic pocket knife again already! After he destroys the building, he exposes the portal under it he created, and they decide the best way of closing it is crashing the nuclear zombie car in it, hit and run style, which they very quickly and easily do. All of the ghosts get pulled back through the portal, including Big Scary Monster after they shoot him in the nuts.
So that's where you wanted us to shoot, right? Yes!
Who then, thank God, takes the horrible one with him. The city's destroyed, but hey, silver lining and all that. But then Brown-Nose decides to heroically risk her life to save Yates, when you know damn well she wouldn't do the same in return for her or anyone else. She saves her terrible friend, they both have white hair for some reason, and then they manage to squeeze in another joke about how stupid and useless Kevin is. In reward for saving the city, they're given government funding, and I guess authority in ghostbusting, and the first thing they do is buy the fire station with the pink door. We then get another unenthusiastic cameo being the uncle, driving another hearse with another pink top.
Where's the car? I got 4 funerals this weekend. Not stacking them like flapjacks.
And oh, thank God. It's over.
Here you go. Thank you.
Okay. I guess we have some more ending credit scenes. Let me guess. Since this DVD only cost me £2, I guess they knew no one was going to be watching the bonus features anyway, so let's just stick them in the credits just because. Actually, I don't even think they're bonus features. I think this is just part of the ending, and they just wanted to start the credits early just so they could get their names out there before either the 2 people in the audience walk out the cinema or smash up their DVD with a hammer. Oh, and we get our final unenthusiastic cameo.
This is my mentor, Dr. Rebecca Gorin. We need this safety light. Safety lights are for dudes. Safety lights are for dudes. I hate doing that.
They get on the roof and see how much the city likes them, because that's only going to happen in this fictional world. And then we finally get the credits. And oh, thank God, it's... Oh, for God's sugar! Just end already! What is this? The army dance number you created that wasn't good enough to leave in the movie, yet you thought it was good enough to go in the end credits? This movie! I mean, and with all that said, that was Ghostbusters 2016. God, that was painful. Alright, in every review I do, I try to be as fair as I can. So, was anything good about this movie that we can take away from it? The acting was good. That's the nicest thing I can say about this film. Usually, good writing is let down by bad acting, yet this movie decided to do it the other way around. Most of the cast in this movie are very talented, proving so in their other works, and even in this movie, even though their characters' actions felt more like a head injury, the fact is, at no point did I disbelieve these nonsense characters, only seeing the actors behind them. Before I did the research of this film, I was assuming I'd be able to say Paul Feig was a good director, since he's directed other successful films, and it was him writing that let the film down. Yet I can't say that after having done the research. I actually rewatched Bridesmaids again as part of my research, being a film I always enjoyed. Yet rewatching it, I noticed what I liked about it was the acting and writing, being reasonably clever and believable. The directing, however, is what let that film down. Much like this film, it has serious pacing issues and a lack of vision, with the only vision holding it together being the one in the script written by Christian Wigg and Anna Mumbolo. In my opinion, as far as I can figure, Paul Feig is just a bad director and an even worse writer, even with Katie Diplo's help. Can I say anything nice about him? I liked his acting as Mr. Paul from Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
I'm fine. What a mess.
It's just a bunch of papers.
Now my life.
He was a good actor, and as far as I know, none of the actors he's worked with has anything bad to say about him. Him being a very diplomatic director who values harmony on set. All that aside, however, I can't think about anything else nice to say about this film. This was horrible, being one of the most mentally painful and exhausting films I've ever analysed in my life. This needs to be studied by film students, being a lesson in exactly how to not make a film. And I'd like to make it clear that I very much support freedom of speech and expression, including of work such as this. So the following rant is mostly hyperbole and letting off steam, and to not be taken completely seriously, not reflecting my rational beliefs, merely being an emotional reaction. It was dog shit. It's worse than dog shit, since dog shit doesn't cause brain damage. I had to watch this movie twice for this review, and that's not including the time I watched it a few years ago with an ex-girlfriend while we were drinking and thought with some booze it might be so bad it's good. You know what? The booze didn't help. I have watched this movie 3 times in my life, and I have suffered permanent, irrevocable brain blur. This movie needs to be banned by the Trevina Convention on the list next to cluster munitions and VX nerve gas. Making POWs watch this film should be regarded as a war crime under cruel and unusual punishments. Honestly, watching this film and trying to pull it apart, it reminded me of the book Combating Cult Mind Control and his section on information control and information overload. One tactic that cults use in brainwashing their victims is bombarding them with so much nonsense repeatedly that they don't even have time to process it, that it just eventually overloads their psychological defenses to get them to passively accept what they're saying and stop questioning. This video is so long because the nonsense was non-stop in this film, like at least once every 30 seconds. How I got to the end of this review without going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, more than I already am, I have no idea. Luckily, for the sake of humanity, this movie failed badly, losing $70 million, and that's not peanuts. And I'm pretty sure Sony learnt their lesson, since although Hollywood doesn't much care about good stories, they do care about money, and if you lose them $70 million, you can be damn sure they won't forget it. Which is likely why Sony turned their back on Ghostbusters 2016 and instead moved to create Ghostbusters Afterlife in 2021, which followed the original canon. I think being their grandkids or something. I don't know. I never watched it, and I don't know anyone who did. Afterlife did make money, but I think only because it had half the budget of 2016. I can't say for sure, but if the bulk of the Ghostbusters fans are anything like me, people didn't go out in their droves to watch Afterlife, I think because Ghostbusters 2016 destroyed all of their trust and taste for it. And rebuilding that takes time. It takes years to build a good reputation, yet only seconds to destroy it. And frankly, it doesn't help people like Feig and some other cast members to this day still defend this film, proving they learnt nothing.
2016, and how intertwined we were with Hillary and the anti-Hillary movement. Everyone went to a boiling point. I don't know if it was having an African-American president for 8 years, teed them up or something. They were just ready to explode. When I announced I was going to do it, it started with Donald Trump going like, Ghostbusters are women, what's going on? Like, it's crazy how people got nuts about women trying to be in power.
In 2016, he came out to respond to him being misquoted by New York Daily News as saying, "Geek culture is home to some of the biggest assholes I've ever met in my life." When he claimed he didn't say that in response to the backlash, he said it before the film in response to something else. In his response to the misquote, it's my opinion he decided to do damage control after realising just how many people disliked this film, aka the very audience he's trying to sell it to. In this response, he said, "Those assholes I speak of, which are the ones who live online, who write those hateful tweets and posts and comments. I'm not talking of the people who have true concerns and worries about the rebooting of a franchise they love. Nor am I talking about people who have watched the trailer for our movie and didn't like it. Those are all valid points and I respect them all." Well, that's a lovely admission of his critics. That sounds very nice. However, I've searched the internet long and hard, and I can't find a single quote of him ever explaining exactly what these valid criticisms with his movie is. Rather than saying, okay, this and that criticism is valid, if I could have done it all over, I would have changed this or that. There's just nothing. If he has clarified that, I haven't found it. All I have found is a 2019 interview he made with The Guardian, with Feig looking back on the situation, stating, "I will never apologise for it because I'm very proud of the movie." That's what I base my opinion on, that this was just insincere damage control, since if he believes he has nothing to apologise for, him being very proud of this movie, then you logically can't believe in a valid criticism of it. And since he made another quote in this article saying, "Male humour devolves, eventually, into homophobia and punching and name-calling," I think that segues nicely into my main criticism with this film. Feig and this movie are misandrist, and I don't say that lightly. There's lots of movies with feminism and the like in them, yet I can't actually think of many that have actual hatred of men in them. This is one of them. The worst part is, if he genuinely wanted to make a movie to just raise women up, he didn't have to tear men down to do it. And in theory, it could have been done in a Ghostbusters film too. Here's how I imagine this film could have been good. Firstly, let Christian Wiig and Dan Aykroyd write it, and keep the canon with the other movies. Say since the second movie there's been no ghost sightings in 20 years, hence they've been out of business that long. But not long after Egon died, ghosts started reappearing, and the rest of them can't do the job because they're old men who can't carry that heavy equipment around anymore, and the car is basically a piece of rust at this point, that's only good for one more ride. Luckily, they all have daughters, one of whom runs a funeral director and owns a hearse. They're all motivated to follow in their father's footsteps, yet their fathers don't want them to, being protective of them and all that. Said women do it anyway, prove their fathers wrong, and get their respect and encouragement. The original Ghostbusters and the original car get one more final day to save before the car and the old men's backs break down, with their girls being the ones to save the day at the end. It would have respected the source material, given it a good send-off, and passed the torch on to the next progressive generation, and it would have done so while being respectful to both sexes. There, Sony, now give me $144 million. This movie, it does make me a hater, since it brings out everything I hate about identity politics. It's all about pretending to be about peace, equality, and harmony, yet doesn't know the meaning of the words. It's all about dividing people into camps and pitting them against each other in a zero-sum game, where one can only win if the other loses. And when art becomes a weapon in this game, everyone loses. That's the case with this film. It could have been a celebration of the Ghostbusters legacy, a tribute to the original cast, a fun, smart, heartwarming comedy. Instead, it was a missed opportunity. A missed opportunity to build a bridge instead of a wall, to bring people together instead of pushing them apart. So, if you ask me, what's the takeaway from this movie? Don't watch it. Seriously, just don't. You're better off watching literally anything else. If you think it could be so bad it's good, even after a drink, trust me, it's not. It's just bad. Save your time, save your brain cells, save your respect for the Ghostbusters franchise. Go watch the originals, or better yet, introduce them to someone who hasn't seen them yet. Share the joy, the laughs, the clever storytelling, and the iconic characters. Let's keep the spirit of Ghostbusters alive. And to my younger viewers who haven't seen the originals, give them a go, because they still hold up even today. As for the 2016 version, let's just cross the streams and forget it ever happened. Mr. Feig.
At last.
So glad you could make it, Paul.
So,
give us your report, Paul.
Craig, tell us how much money you made for us.
You want to know how much money I made for you? You want to know how much money I made for you?
Yeah.
I'll tell you how much money I made for you. I didn't make
sewage.
I see things no one else does.
No! I didn't make any money for you. I didn't make any money for you. I lost money for you. I lost money for you. I lost
$70
million, and I did it deliberately. I did it deliberately. I did it deliberately.
You fool. You stupid fool.
You don't frighten me anymore, Bill. The critics
don't even exist. You just made them up.
Let's show this prehistoric how we do things downtown.
We'll cross the street.
Two in the box.
Ready to go.
Now, we be fast and they be slow.
Wow.
We're the best, we're the beautiful, we're the only Ghostbusters.
So that's the end of the show, and remember, likes and shares are always a treasure, watching the ads helps the algorithm glow, join the Bear Army on Patreon. Don't be slow.